Alright. Good evening. Tonight is January 16th, 5:30. It's the Opioid Abatement Committee. I want to call to order the meeting. I would like, if Danny, would you mind doing the invocation?
Okay. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Father, give us wisdom as we discuss how best to use these funds for the citizens of Sumner County, Lord. We just ask that you would be with those that can't be here tonight, those that are sick. Just pray for all that's going on in our country, Lord, the wildfires and the inauguration coming up Monday, Lord, for your safety and your protection to be upon us. Bless us as a nation, bless us as a state and as a county in our work here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance, if you all stand. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we approve the agenda, I wanted to move under new business, approval of questions to applicants, up to report of the grant accountant as section D. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Recognition of the public. We don't have anybody. We do have, but we don't. Approval of the minutes. Do I have approval? Do I have a motion to approve of the minutes?
I'll make a motion, but I was not here, so.
Okay, I'll second that.
So, quick question. So we have minutes to approve from 3 meetings. Are we grouping and approving all
Yes.
3 of those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, here,
I was absent in December.
yes.
I believe I was absent in October. I
Yes.
I can
We did
approve
not
the
have a
form.
quorum in December, it was just discussion.
Okay.
Approve them in.
I'll approve in form. I'll second.
Okay. I didn't hear you. I'm so
I said
sorry.
I'll approve in form.
Okay. All right, so everybody are good? Okay. And report of the committee chair. Just want to say what an awesome job everybody's doing. I'm so excited about this program. And I think that from what I can see, from what we've done, is that we are actually helping the community. It's the little things, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to say that and thank everybody that's been coming to the meetings, thanks to everybody that's been participating. And we still have a lot of work to do, and that's my report. So, report of the grant accountant.
Okay, so if you were to look at page 4 in your packet, you'll actually see a summary of the Murray County Opioid Abatement Committee. And this will give you just roughly a ballpark to see where we compare to a fellow county. In this portion, you can see where Delta Recovery received $297,060. You also had the county itself give $20,000 to do an opioid app and a website. The hospital, Murray Regional Center, received $360,000. The Prevention Coalition received $120,000. The Human Resource Agency, $15,000. Place of Hope, $70,000. So they gave out all $882,770 during their first grant cycle. Currently, I've reached out to Murray County just to compare where we are with the projects to see if everything is kind of the same way, if we're seeing some similar issues going on, and to also talk about the way that we invoice and how we run each other's program to see if we can either beg, borrow, or steal some ideas of what makes them good, and we would reciprocate with that. So that is where Murray County stands. Next is the financial tracker, which is being passed out. This one in front of me. So this is only for invoice 1 or quarter 1. And so looking at it, we only spent $2,552.84. Looking at it, we did receive the metrics for it. We now are in the second quarter of receiving the invoices that are due this week. Right now, CASA Recovery Court Sumner Prevention Coalition has submitted their information. However, it's not been reviewed at this time. Payment should go out next week, and that is contingent upon their performance metrics being received. At that point in time, the tracker will be updated, and we will go over it at that meeting. The 10 is starting with Q2, since we now have everybody basically on board. When you receive this next, it will also have the performance metrics tied to it for each one of the projects, so you can actually see the outcomes for each individual application that was approved. You also will see at the bottom High Point Health Volunteer, Summer Prevention Coalition, EMS, and Risk Management for the appropriation for the hospital project. All the contracts have been sent out. They all have been in-house, and we are moving forward on that initiative at this point in time. At the bottom, you have the policy for risk management and possibility of recovery courts. And so right now, with the amount that was not awarded, the $12,395, we've combined that with the $2,000 at the top, and we will be putting emergency medical kits throughout the county buildings that will have AEDs, naloxone, and stop bleed kits in it. So that way, everybody will have it. Also, if you notice in your packets, you have an application from risk management as well that will complement this amount should it get approved.
I'm a little unclear. So
Yes.
Are these different things? Because they sound like, to me, that was the same thing. The application and the other
So,
building. Are they the same thing?
no. Yes and no. So the intent was at the beginning for the first round, we passed a policy saying unused funds would go for infrastructure. So they received $12,395.27 on top of the $2,000 that's above. So there's $14,000 that's been given to risk management to start the initiative. At this point in time, the initiative itself to actually put AEDs, naloxone, and everything in the emergency kits would cost roughly anywhere from 40 to 60 grand. So this is laying the foundation for it. This would no means cover everything.
Will this one, we can get into the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, I see. This is just a piece of the money.
This is just a piece of the money.
Okay.
So. Next up, the monthly overdose transports. So at the end of the packet, you actually have, page 6 of the packet, you'll see the overdose runs for the month of December. And so you'll see that if you're looking at Hendersonville Medical Center and High Point Health, they both received the same amount of runs. Each one had 5. So hopefully with the partnership taken into effect, the High Point Health one, which is High Point Health Sumner, as well as High Point Health Sumner Station ER, that should start hopefully reducing in the next few months as they've hired a navigator or in the process of hiring a navigator. Everybody at this table received an email from me saying that the position is open, and I asked you to pass it along. The position is still open, and they're hoping to close, I believe, next week and start interviewing for it. And from that, I'll turn it back to our chair for new business.
The old business.
Oh, we moved new business A. Oh, I'm
Okay,
sorry. I'm sorry. That was D. Let's move to my report. My apologies.
Okay, the old business state application.
Oh, we're not there yet. My apologies.
Oh, then,
I forgot to do D, that we moved.
oh, wait a minute. So you were gonna approve all the questions to the applicant, that's D.
D, yes.
That's where we are now.
That's where we are. My apologies.
That's my fault. I didn't-
So last night you received, oh, thank you. You received the following packets via email. In turn, all of the applications were either missing a component or needs to have clarification to protect us from auditors. That way, when we do award grant applications, that the money is not clawed back or we have to return any funds. And so what I'm going to do is we're just going to take each one separately for you all to look at and see if there's any questions that need to be removed or added. And then after that, I will mail them out, the questions out Friday, with the possibility of the responses being received by January 31st. And then you all can finalize your scores by the 21st of February. And I'll hand out a calendar momentarily with all the dates on it. So looking at it on page 2, we have Sumner County Risk Management. So regarding their information, it looks like we will need to have a discussion about budget for proposal. So if you remember in the work plan, there's actually a budget component, but we did ask for an individual budget to be included that would mirror it. They did not do it, as well as other applicants. So the recommendation from finance is to request for a budget proposal to be written out. That way it can be inserted into their grant contract. If you go down further, the previous fiscal year budget to actuals was not submitted or cannot be easily found. Same thing with statement of how opioids have impacted the department, statement about subsidies, and a copy of the last annual report that reflects that department. If you go on down to signatory page, it was not submitted as well. And the questions are, as you can see, follows. And I'll let you read that because my voice is starting to give out a little bit. So.
Okay. Those are simple questions to answer, they should be.
So we'll move on next to the Department of Health. Oh, there you go. So the Department of Health, you can see that for the supporting documentation that was submitted, you have the budget for proposal was not easily found. At this point in time, budget to actuals for current year, I could not find. Previous fiscal year budget, could not find. Statement about specific subsidies was not easily found, and copy of last annual report was not easily found. And in addition, there were 4 questions that needed to be asked.
I
Yes.
may make a suggestion, a question to ask on that one.
Okay.
Per Tennessee law, fentanyl test strips will sunset July 1st of this year. If not, our legislators extend that, so
Okay.
therefore we would be supporting something that would be illegal.
So if you
It's a
all,
sunset law.
so if you all agree, I would like to piggyback on that one, and besides sending it to the health department, also send that question to legal to get legal advisement on it. If you all are okay with that.
So you're saying that goes into effect in July?
It was a sunset law initially to get fentanyl test strips.
Okay.
And it's set to expire
Expire.
July.
Okay.
Now, there are a lot of advocacy groups trying to get that extended, but there's no guarantee for that. So if we fund it,
Is it the state legislators that need to be kind of pushed?
Is
They
it-
need to be pushed on it?
correct, yeah.
Do you know any specifics? Oh, go ahead.
Well, it will be the state legislature will need to do it. I know a lot of people are
Yeah.
talking to them, trying to nudge them. But maybe one potential workaround to consider, and the interim if needed, before that state law originally came along, in Davidson County, I worked with the district attorney's office, and they issued a letter of non-prosecution for anybody with fentanyl test strips. So they did that workaround, at least within Davidson County. They were like, if you had these, we're not going to touch you, we're not going to arrest you, we're not going to prosecute you, it's a waste of time. And they made that public statement.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it is, if you need to buy some time,
Yeah.
and still have that life-saving tool out there in the community, you might want to talk to people about that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely workarounds. I think it does put a liability though, and I just mentioned that after I wrote it on the application. just
Thank you.
as a
So
precaution.
I will address it with both the health department as well as legal, and we'll see what the advisement is from legal and what the response is.
Thank you for that.
And I think I have a question. I wondered how they are going to distribute the strips.
Okay.
Like if they were just gonna, well, how are they gonna distribute?
Are they gonna be, this is the health department, will they be doing this out of the health department itself?
upon reading it, it would be done with the health department, and they're hoping to give some of it for the Box of Hope with the hospital partnership
Yeah.
to put in the box.
Okay.
So I guess my question would also be, if you're talking about distribution, are you wondering if a person has to come up and ask for it, or can they advertise it in the health department as well?
I'm asking what their policy, what they're doing.
Okay. Any other questions that we need to ask of the health department?
I can't think of anything.
Mid-Cumberland Community Agency, at this point in time, I'm going to ask for a budget for proposal. They said that they didn't want to submit it, so I'm kind of curious for an explanation on that one. Going further on down, if you're looking at it, you will see the questions that need to be asked. And this one, I'm going to go into a little bit more than I will normally do it.
Yeah, I reviewed their application. It's pretty thick with lots of stuff. And they have quite a big budget. Huge. So I think it's important if they answer these questions and submit.
Okay, so looking at it, I'm asking for permission for this one regarding the naloxone. If you look at the handout that was just passed out to you with our partnership with the hospital, what I could possibly do is, the schools has requested 150 boxes of naloxone. Their naloxone is set to expire. And so what I would like to do is, if you all will allow me to, is to meet with Mid-Cumberland. I'm not going to guarantee funding because that would be under your purview. However, I would like to say, instead of giving them money to purchase naloxone, that we take the naloxone that we're giving to the schools, take their current supply that is expected to expire in December of 2026, and give that maybe to Mid-Cumberland, so that way they can actually put it out there in the community where it's going to be used first. That way we're not wasting any of the naloxone in Sumner County.
That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. That way it's not fiery and, I mean, it's kind of a futile thing if you just leave it in the storage area and, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
With the school, when it come down under the 2025,
Yes.
so they expect to use 74.
So they're
We're gonna
asked.
get a new we're not gonna completely deplete their supply, are we?
Correct. We do not want to completely deplete their supply at this point in time. When talking with the hospital, we don't want to give everything to the school system all at once, because that means that we will get all of their ones that are about to expire, and we'd have to distribute it rapidly, and we don't have that in place. We'd rather stagger it out so that way we don't have a big expense every year to 2 years.
And the state would supply that naloxone, that's how they got it in the first place. They just have to be willing to go through an hour training, so I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you're looking at spending money on something that could be free, or,
And some of them still can't because they're afraid of some of the hoops that they've had to reach. So for that one, maybe it would behoove this body to allow Mr. Taylor and myself to sit down and discuss the naloxone component at some point in time so we can strategically work those portions out.
What kind of, I mean, I'm hearing training, which I like, and I'm hearing hoops, which I don't like, so those don't.
You have the
I like training. If it's hoopful training, that still sounds okay.
The training is where, for example, the school nurses or the administrators will learn how to use the naloxone. The hoops, that part that you don't like, there's certain criteria that sometimes schools was not one of them. I'm just going to throw it back to my partners at Summer Prevention Coalition, where sometimes if they get it from a certain agency, they cannot advertise that they have it. Or the health department, if they get naloxone, they can't advertise they have the naloxone out there. You have to know that you're asking for it. Sort of like you can't ask for the little brown bag. They can't advertise it, but we all know it's there. So there are certain hoops, whereas we have our stockpile, if they want to advertise it, they can advertise and push it out there to the community.
So, which is it? Is it they don't want training, or they don't? I mean, I understand that they wanna advertise it so it will.
That's
be
the hoop
used.
that some
Is
of them
the
are,
one?
yeah, that's the one
I'm
that
okay
some
to
of them are
understand
having it.
that.
But I think with Mr. Taylor's knowledge of naloxone and some of the parties, we may be able to avoid some of the hoops, or maybe cut down on what we're using with the hospital.
Yeah, because I mean, and I don't wanna take up the whole meeting on that, but realistically, I mean, all the naloxone can be provided. If it's an advertising thing, yeah, it does have to come from a specific party, right? An affiliate of the state for that. But, I mean, even in their money that they're funded with, that they have to spend so much on advertisement of it, so.
Does the school, so right now they have naloxone in the schools.
Correct, but the
Okay.
naloxone can only be administered by nurses and administrative staff that has had the training.
Like the SROs, have they had, they're all trained, I'm assuming, in that?
I would think they are.
They should be. We're actually trying to implement a leave behind program with them where they can just leave it behind on the calls they respond to.
Okay. So you're looking, and you're in the training, they're talking, the nurses get the training and all that. But you're talking about more like teachers and people that are not medical professionals.
It could be typically, what it looks like is when you do trainings at schools, it's just like nursing staff.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of that falls back on the individual's policy and procedures of that school on who is actually allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Some counties, we train all faculty with it. Come in on like an in-service day.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think the schools still have a CERT team, school emergency response team, that get trained on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. It's just, the way that, the reason the training is tied to it is it's a federal grant that the state's had for 10 years now. It just got renewed for another 4 years, but it's tied to a training component.
And in Tennessee, if you look down at the further area, we do have the Tennessee Code annotated that also states that the nurses and or administrative staff has to be trained on it. So, and that training has to come from specific agencies. It can't be anybody walk in and do it. It has to be a specific one. So if you all will allow me to work with Mr. Taylor, then I'll report back to you all on it.
That's a great idea.
Okay,
A motion for you to do that.
thank you.
Second.
Terry, all in
I'm in
favor?
favor.
The next one is CASA. At this point in time, their application, I do not believe it meets the intent of the program or the state funds. So that's why you see it being heavily questioned, because I need to make sure that it actually meets the opioid abatement and remediation aspects. And so that is why they have 2 pages of questions at this point in time. Next one is Cumberland Heights Foundation. For this one, they've submitted pretty much all of their information. However, they're wanting to finish building out part of an area, and so the first question is, I'm sorry, this is wrong, Cumberland Heights, my apologies. This one is about the scholarships, and so they're basically building upon the award of this year, and we need to figure out how many people have actually received the award and what are they seeing.
So this, I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that people are clear about what scholarships mean. Because to me, some people say scholarship, well, that's on goes good. But that means it's for treatment beds. Am I right?
Scholarships for this is to pay for some of their therapy, inpatient or outpatient services. What I'm curious about and what I need to put in here, if you are willing to, is what happens if they leave during their treatment. What happens to that full scholarship?
Well, honestly, you're dealing with people who maybe have next to no pennies. So I don't know how you would recover that.
I'm just wondering if they say if it's $15,000 and they're giving it to one person, if that person leaves mid-treatment, and they've only spent $7,500, that $7,500 did not leave out the door and they just kept it. I want to make sure that $7,500 could be applied to somebody else.
Yeah. I think that makes
So, yeah, that's a good idea. But my question is if they're gonna be given $15,000 for treatment fund, and does that money stay within Cumberland Heights as a disbursement?
The money that's awarded automatically goes back to Cumberland Heights. So for like right now, when they submit their invoices, it will say X amount of people that have been serviced, and then we turn around and reimburse them for the amount that's requested.
So would you give a prorated amount on the early leaver?
For that one, that's what I'm questioning. That's why we
But
need to add that
You don't wanna encourage
question.
that, but that doesn't need to be advertised, but maybe a prorated amount? Like, the goal for them is to keep them there, not,
Right. So I will ask that question to them. Next is Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency. This is the one that actually has the center that is being built outside of Sumner County, and they're asking us to contribute to it. And so I reference back to our instructions as well as the application itself, and I'm giving them the opportunity to explain how they believe they don't fall into that criteria. Next, you'll see Summer Prevention Coalition. So if you look, you can see everything that's been submitted. I'm not for sure about the budget to actuals. I need to make a note on that one. And then if you come down, you can see the questions that need to be asked to them. Any additional questions that you think we may need to ask Sumner Prevention Coalition?
I can't think of it.
Okay. Next is Recovery Refuge. You can see the information that is on there. Basically with this one, we're having to ask for their nonprofit status letter, their statement, their Form 990EZ, or the comptroller form. The budget to actuals was submitted, and that one was in Excel. I don't know if you wanted more details or not. I would prefer a little bit more details on it. But they did submit it, and they had the previous fiscal year budget to actuals. And there were no audit documents on this one.
Do you know if this is like a new program they started? It's through the Long Hollow, and I know they've been doing this for a while. But that was a question I had, is what was your success? I mean, I think it was 17 people that they were dealing with.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty easy to answer.
One of the questions I had, I know it says that it submitted a license. I didn't see a copy of that in there, and it did state that they were receiving counseling services.
I do have a copy of it. I think that one, right in the middle of all of y'all's printing, what Jessica and I did not tell you is our copiers got switched out. And so that was one of the pages that actually went missing. So I believe that's the one, but I will forward that one to you so that way you can look at it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I would just like to see that, or a letter of, like, where they're maybe outsourcing those services to somebody, a letter of support.
Okay. Next, we have the Safe Baby Court. So if you're looking at this one, of course, the IRS statement does not pertain to them, but the previous fiscal budget to actuals was not submitted, neither was the statement about how it was impacted by opioids. Statement regarding subsidies or supplementals was not submitted, and the last annual financial report was not submitted. Coming down to the bottom, you can see the DGA was not executed, and you can read the rest of the questions as well. Next, you have Recovery Court. Recovery Court, you can see everything that has been submitted. I did not find in their packets the IRS statement or the Form 990EZ, so I'm going to have to inquire about that. And then for this one, if it's awarded, whether it's this one or the Director of Preparation to Recovery Court, I will be asking this body to allow me to track the legislation so that way I can address General Ops, the Budget Committee, as well as the County Commission, and the answers will come from the same person and everybody will be on the same page. So I will be asking Recovery Court itself if they will allow me to do it. Also, what this body needs to be aware of is Gen Ops Committee passed with the County Commission the architectural design. So anybody that is remodeling the space has to have an architect. So that means that Recovery Court and the not-for-profit as well will have to meet those guidelines. And so that question is on here as well.
On this, I guess maybe this is a question. Gen Ops has all the responsibility for oversight and project management and all that, right? We're just perfect.
Yes.
I just
So
wanted to verify. I'm good to go on.
you're good to go?
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Yes.
what I want with the talk.
Next up is United Neighborhood Health Services. So for their salary schedule, we did say that they could submit one in lieu, so they did an amended budget line. If you come on down further, you'll see that their IRS statement was from 1978. The audit was not submitted, so I'll be inquiring about that. And then further down, what I have a question on is their partnerships. And so for this one, they said it wasn't a partnership, but they will be working with other organizations. And so I want to know if they are aware of it, because I did inquire from 2 of the organizations that they had listed, and the 2 people I spoke to that are further up on the chain were not aware of the potential partnership. I'm sorry, collaboration is how they were phrased it. And so that leads me to the very end. If anybody is listed as a partner or a collaborator, does this body want me to reach out to those entities to make sure they are aware of the application?
I think that because we're responsible for the funding, that would be a good idea. That's just my opinion. I just think for us to be a responsible people of the money, I think we need to know all our little cross our T's kind of thing.
And I didn't see their license either. I don't know if it was something that maybe
That-
happened in the transition. But
That may have happened in the transition. Theirs was quite interesting because looking at it, the positions and everybody is through a contract with the state. And so they were licensed, but trying to find the license itself, I did not see a license either.
yeah,
He's
Was
without
that-
this.
Yeah.
I would like to think they have it, but just grading their application. I mean,
Yeah.
I will do that. As this pertains to the questions and the scoring, passing out the February calendar. Again now. So looking at it, this Friday, tomorrow morning before noon is my game plan. It may go up in smoke, but we will see. Is to get all of the questions out to all of the applicants and telling them the time frame is a response needs to be sent by close of business by Friday, January 31st. That will give you all as a board 2 weeks to amend any of the scores that you initially put in there with additional information. On the 21st is your deadline to give me the scores back so I compile the information. And originally we had the 27th as a meeting date. However, we may want to consider moving that to accommodate people. So does anybody have any conflicts with the 27th? Do we need to look at another date on here?
Do you anticipate that being a lengthy meeting? I'll have that.
That one will.
All right.
That one will be a lengthy meeting. So if we need to move it to a Wednesday night, I believe this body has expressed interest at least once to moving it to Wednesday night. We could move it to a Wednesday.
I don't plan that far ahead, I'll just hold it on the
Okay.
calendar. Whichever day you
Maybe
decide.
move it earlier in the day if it's gonna be lengthy.
Or as Jessica just suggested, we can move it earlier in the day if need be.
I make a motion, we can, if that works for people,
Oh.
maybe 30 minutes earlier.
So instead of 5:30, it's 5. Yeah, I'm all about that.
Okay.
On the 27th.
Yes, please. February.
And I know that you're trying to make sure we're here for quorum.
Yes.
Our committee is down a lot of seats, and we're trying to fill those. So what are the plans for when we fill those, that you can get somebody up to speed for this meeting? I just want you to have that, I don't want an answer tonight, but I want to put that on your back burner.
We'll handle that one coming up under old business, if that is okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And with that, I'll return it back to Mary.
Okay, under old business, we have state application.
So the state application, the partnership, under your guidance, has allowed me to apply for $561,000 from the state. Those funds would continue the hospital project for 2 years, and it also had a caveat in it to bring all of the not-for-profits in Sumner County together that focus on opioid abatement and treatment to have a potential one-day summit where we can learn about each other and to start breaking down some of the walls where we can hopefully be more collaborative and build more partnerships. And so we will hear back about this grant application hopefully in July, and then we'll turn around, and if awarded, we would have a contract by next January, this time next year.
Okay. Opioid grant policy, clarification of the infrastructure and request.
So, in working with Recovery Court not-for-profits, as this body is aware, the van came in under cost. They also purchased their insurance, and on top of it, they were given permission as part of the cost for the van to purchase a LoJack. So with the money that's left over for our policy, it would come back to us to put in AEDs and emergency kits with naloxone and stop bleed kits throughout county buildings. Judge Hunter has asked us to maybe reconsider that policy to also add not-for-profits to them, to give it to them. That means they would have to have training, number one, on it through our EMS, because they would have to conduct the training on how to use the AEDs as well as the naloxone, and to make sure that it is actually registered with EMS. So what I would be looking for is if any of the grant applicants come in under budget and can afford these emergency kits with those funds, that we allow them to purchase the infrastructure to put in the AEDs and the naloxone with the stop bleed kits.
The AED is, so training on the AED, in my experience, is done through basic life support training, first aid treatment, done like that. So, and I know EMS has a trainer that does the training for them. Is there some way we could partner with them to do maybe a one half day or two half days training for nonprofits?
So if right now in discussions with Judge Hunter as well as with Jay Austin, the plan would be to offer to the individual not-for-profit that wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also they would turn around and install that kit or the wall-mounted kit on the wall. So that way they can go ahead and call EMS as soon as it is put on the wall and it's all located and it's done. Because right now with AEDs, we do have to have it recorded, and it would be either web-based or somebody would need to call it in. This way EMS will take care of all of that.
Okay, so that will help.
Yes.
Does EMS, do they do that regularly?
EMS has training on their website,
Okay.
and you can try to request it. as well, and they also have the form to register the AEDs on their site.
Good. Okay.
So I'm needing a motion if you all want to pursue this route or
Would
not.
recovery court not fall under the county property or risk management?
That would be, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Recovery court, not-for-profit, and that does not fall under recovery court itself. They're two separate entities. So that one's the not-for-profit, non-governmental, and they do have a lease that's not in a county-owned building, so they would not fall under that jurisdiction.
So your motion is to work the request.
Dustin can't make the motion.
Huh?
Dustin can't make.
I can't make
No,
the motion.
I know, but my motion would be to allow, I can't remember what you said, sorry.
To allow any nonprofit that has funding availability to purchase emergency kits to be allowed to do so as an amendment to their contracts.
I'd make a motion to do that, what you just said. I'm not gonna repeat everything word by word.
I would like to just, I will second that, but I'd like to take a stab at an amendment. If we could get a report back before they do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a report out. I'm
That
not saying
they-
we have to approve the report, but informational.
Okay.
And I'll give you a second with that if I may.
I guess my discussion point would be, what if the leftover amount's not enough to purchase this, or what if it exceeds the purchase of that, what's left in?
What I would say is if they're able to use their own money as a match, then I would not see a problem giving them the funds for it. If their money's not there, then I don't have a way to pay for it because I do have a finite amount of funds to use.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's kind of my point on, if we blanket this as kind of going forward kind of policy, I mean.
We may have to place in the policy that if this is based on the amount of money that you have
Funds
left over,
availability.
will
Yeah.
be, the funds will be able to fund it and not just, allocation has to fund it.
But in way of discussion, would they maybe cut corners somewhere else just to make up the money?
That, they would have, that's something that,
They would have to make a decision.
yeah, that's on them. So we need to vote on a motion and her amendment. Are we good?
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, we're not very proper. Moving on to term limits for this is under old business, term limits for opioid abatement committee members.
So this is going back to part of what Commissioner Boyd had inquired about because we do not have, we do have vacancies that need to be filled. Per the legal department, subcommittees can only last for 1 year or being established for 1 year, and at that point in time, they would need to fold because their business should be completed. As this is a potential program that will go for at least hopefully 18 years. The recommendation from legal and finance is to make this a standalone committee or to turn around at the end of this grant cycle, which would end when these applications are done, and return the duties back to the budget committee. Those would be the two options at this point in time that would be recommended to you all. So looking at it, in front of you, you have the policies for procedures for the appointment of opioid abatement committee members. That's in front of you, and if you wanted to pursue this to be a standalone committee, what would happen is we would, you all would either make a motion to send it to budgets to make that formal request and then have it moved on, or we would make a recommendation to request them to absorb it into the budget committee.
I'd like to make a motion to make this a standalone committee. It's a long, years and years, and I don't think it needs to be I think it needs to be a standalone committee. That's
I'll
my
second
motion.
that.
Did you
All in
say you
favor?
second?
Well, that's fine.
We're good.
Okay. I would ask, as a matter of discussion, if Dustin, if you could come up with ideas for, with this being a standalone committee, the responsibility and such seems to me that would require bylaws and more guardrails. And if you could go out and find for this committee's, I don't believe it's this committee's job to form that documentation. But if you could go ahead and start gathering that from other counties
Okay,
so that we're on the right path as quick as possible.
will do.
Yeah, I suggest that, because to my understanding, I'm just kind of an advisory. I know several months back, now Sheriff Eric, that was kind of our deal. We didn't get any voting rights. So, I mean, honestly, I can carry more weight holding a chair right there, unfortunately.
On that, what you said, we are missing, so we need to, if we decide to do a standalone committee, then the vacant seats need to go to committee on committee to be outsourced to whoever, who would want to be on there. And
Well, that would be in the bylaws and this
Yes.
formation. It would all.
Yeah. Okay.
And then to also address what Mr. Taylor said, if you were to look at the Opioid Abatement Committee members, you have the 5 that are from the Sumner County Commission that would be voting. You have the 3 members from the Sumner County that are citizens that are voting. This is borrowed from another organization or committee from the county. They said the county mayor would be non-voting as ex officio, and the sheriff would be, and I put in there, and/or his designee from the drug task force shall be non-voting. So I don't know how you two feel about the other 2 or want to make any changes to that.
I would like to see somebody from the sheriff's department come each meeting, and then I think the county mayor, because I don't think he's been at the meeting, and then we're what, 2, we're 1 commissioner short,
Right.
because I think Commissioner Rogers had stepped down.
Yeah. So
We need to make sure we have enough people to have a quorum. each
Okay.
time.
Yeah, our citizens step down.
Yeah.
So do you want the county mayor to be non-voting and the sheriff to remain, or his designee to be non-voting?
Non-voting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you just bring us, I'd like examples from other counties before.
Okay.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, let me suspend the rules. Can we suspend the rules to talk?
And I would encourage you to talk to Rutherford County. They have a pretty progressive board.
The motion to suspend the rules.
Yeah.
Well, just very quickly, I already know you're talking with Doug in Horry County. Doug also has the list of all the county finance directors who are typically involved with most of the counties who do have committees up and running. That might be a really quick way to get him to send out an email to that listserv to gather up those bylaws. That might shortcut everything for you. And also, I know Doug went through this process with his county mayor and getting it all set up as well. So he might be another resource. And Rutherford County have been operating for a while as well.
Yeah, I can get you in touch with their chairperson.
Okay.
Okay. Is that it?
That would be it for term limits.
Okay, new business, we have already talked about A. B is scoring discussion.
So for the scoring discussion, previously, we have the deadline date for the 21st, so please do not share your scores with other committee members. If at any point in time you have any questions about scores or feel like you need additional information, please shoot me an email and I will get that information to you all, and I'll look forward to receiving them on the 21st to compile all of the data together.
Okay. The third last thing is presentation request.
So this body decided to set aside $500,000 for an potential infrastructure project for Recovery Court itself. In doing so, it was made that they would need to do a presentation as well as have I just lost the word I wanted to use besides handout, a written document showing what they intend to do for the whole entire period, showing increased programs that could be given, as well as what this would mean for their community as well. That way we have something in writing from them for the application procedure. My recommendation is to set aside a date to have a special call meeting where we only discuss the recovery court $500,000 direct appropriation.
Well, it didn't need to be done, that didn't have to necessarily be done by the 21st.
No. Let me put this into context for you real fast. So basically, from our standpoint, February 27th, we have our meeting. I have to get all the information online for the budget to review it on February 28th. What I anticipate doing is, for the $500,000, is to do what we did with the hospitals. While we go through the budgetary process, is to put it in a non-allocated line, so that way this body, or if we end up becoming a standalone committee, to have that $500,000 set aside, and we can turn right around and appropriate it at any point in time and just do a budget adjustment to move it from non-allocated to the recipient.
So when were you anticipating a special call meeting? Prior to the 27th?
I was honestly looking after the 27th, sometime in March,
March.
to get you all through this grant period and
Right.
focus on the grants, and then we could turn around and give the attention like we did to the hospitals and focus on the $500,000.
And in that meeting, would we be bringing in general ops as well?
No, it would just be us.
Okay.
And that way you all can make a recommendation, and then I would take it to Gen Ops, present the case, and let Gen Ops say yay or nay. And then I would report back to you all to say whether or not I'm taking it to budgets or they rejected it and state why.
So general ops,
Do we have any time constraints on, I mean, I know we have time constraints, but what are they? If it goes to general ops and it does not move forward, are we in a time crunch?
So right now, starting in February 20, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head and I don't have the document in front of me. I believe it is February 25th of next year, we will hit our 2-year mark, so you still have another year to appropriate the funds.
Okay, thank you.
So,
so general ops will be on March 3rd.
so if we go down that route, it wouldn't make Gen Ops. Gen Ops would actually see it, by that case, by April.
April. Okay.
So we could do February, or March 13th, Thursday, March 13th?
I have a question. Could we not have a joint special call?
You could have a joint special call, but
I mean,
what
It would be just a few more people, but the same stakeholders.
we could have that one at that point in time.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I think at this point in time, what you may want to do is wait to see what happens to our not-for-profit recovery court, because if they do not get funded, then we're going to have a whole different discussion with Judge Blanton and recovery court. So we first need to see how their application falls.
Thank you.
Okay.
But I do like your suggestion. So maybe at the special call meeting, we have on the agenda the potential awards for applicants, followed up with a set date for presentation. And we just tackled those 2 issues.
It's just a suggestion.
So that would be in
So-
March.
At the special call, you said?
At the special call meeting, we would discuss who gets...
Two things.
2 things. Who would be awarded the grants, and then we would turn around and determine a date, and if we want to do a special call meeting pending the outcome of who is awarded the grants.
Sounds good. Okay.
So March 13th? That's 2 weeks after our next meeting. March 27th, what do you think?
I wouldn't wait too long. I mean, March 13th sounds good.
Okay. Do you want me to reach out to Gen Ops for a joint?
You can? The only reason I like the idea of putting the two groups together, like with what Terry said, or Chairman, oh wait, or, I'm not Chairman, but Commissioner White, sorry. You can see I'm not like formal. Is that I find that people truly don't understand sometimes the complexity of what we do and what's involved in all of it. It's, they look at a number, but they don't realize there's a lot more complexity to all of it. And I think by having us together with the other group, it will give we can explain it. Does that make sense?
So from my standpoint, I need some clarification because I do not have an answer. If we do a joint session, are they normally held in this room, or do we go to the chambers like we did for the budget with schools and the county commission?
Probably with the chambers.
Chambers, we don't have enough room in here.
Okay.
So that completes our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Look at that, 6:25, man, perfect.